Welcome back to the Grunge Bible Podcast. This is episode 115. My name is Chris Salona. I'm sitting here with Ethan Shalloway on a lovely evening as we're ready to discuss the Foo Fighters' new album, But Here We Are. But before that, Ethan, how's it going today?
I'm doing well, man. It's so fitting that the album title is But Here We Are, because that's how I feel right now.
Every week, we just happen to find ourselves back here.
Yeah, we have a busy week, but here we are, And it's Friday night, and we've been talking about recording them late, and we just keep doing it. So
we're
in our
we're in our late night era of the Grunge Bible Podcast. Like we had the morning era for a little bit, but then we were cooking with the afternoon era for a long time. But we've transitioned. It's a time of change, and the last 10-15 or so we've been. What are you doing Friday night? Oh, I gotta do a podcast. So that's what we're doing. It's a lovely Friday evening. It's June 2nd, 2023, and here we are.
Yeah, and it's funny because we had an idea for the podcast and we had some stuff written down, and then we pivoted because this morning of the day of recording, the Foo Fighters dropped the new album, so we had to pivot and give a little reactionary podcast, emergency podcast. Not the first, we've had a few, but this is as close as you're gonna get,
Absolutely. Yeah, this is definitely the quickest turnaround time that we'll have had with a new piece of art, getting an episode out on it. And it's going to be interesting because I do think maybe at some point in the future we will do like a more of a proper around album here what we do, a proper album review that we like to do around here and that you guys like to listen to. But this is great. It's going to be really interesting to look back on this episode and see what our thoughts were, because I've only had maybe 2 listens front to back of it so far. The singles aside, obviously they come out in the prior weeks, but sometimes you gain a lot of lessons and a lot of insight, and you develop a relationship with an album and with music within those first couple of listens. So and I can already feel that happening with this record. And I'm really, really excited to talk about it. And I'm not the world's biggest Foo Fighters fan, but this morning, I woke up, I knew it was coming out today. So the first thing I listened to today, and it hit me, and it shook me, and it really affected me. And I'm excited to share my thoughts with you all, and Ethan, hear what your thoughts are. But before we do that, we do have some people to thank that make this podcast possible. And they make these reactionary emergency podcasts all the more possible. And Ethan, there's a Frank Sinatra song. I forget the name of it, but it's it was a very good year or something.
Yeah.
Drew's probably really upset right now that I might be potentially butchering that, but it was a very good week for the Grunge Bible Podcast in terms of Patreon. We were able to ring the bell last week with a Jonas Carlson moving up from $2 to $5. We had Keith White join the ranks. We have 2 new members that have joined the ranks. We're just going to start it right off. A new $2 per month Patreon supporter by the name of James Hunt has decided to get some skin in the game. So we're very thankful for James and his commitment to this enterprise here. And additionally, at the $5 level, I would like to introduce Theodore LaBarbera to the world of Grunge Bible Patreon. So Theodore, awesome. Your $5 a month is invaluable, and it's helping us to procure new microphones. As we said last week, Ethan's got his hands on some new microphones, some new technology that's going to be able to help us out. So I would like to thank once again James Hunt and Theodore LaBarbera for joining at the $2 and the $5 level respectively. I would also like to thank, as we do each week, our top level supporters on Patreon. Their gift of $10 a month, not a gift, their pledge, it's a conscious choice of $10 a month helps to keep this podcast rolling as we keep rolling through our 115th straight week. We haven't missed a week, in case you haven't heard that before. So at this time, I would like to thank Keith White. I would like to thank and apologize to Epona for completely fucking it up and missing the last 6 months of your pledge ship, your Patreon ship, but thank you. Additionally, the $10 level, I would like to thank Alex Long, Black Hole Sean, The Blue Owl, Brother Nature, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Doug Endy, Corden Stewart, Kara K, Captain Hightop, Fresh Tendonitis, Fuck Soup, Granny Grunge, Faith Bittner, Jade Mercado, Carlene Salona, Jamie Lynn, Chris LSMS, Rachel Corning, Nikki Six, Millie, Marianne, What the Fuck's Up Denny's, Seattle 4 fanboy from New Jersey, and Laura Nyreen. So thank you to each and every one of you for supporting. And as we've been saying, you know, the iron is hot right now. There's a lot of people who are joining. So if you're on the fence, if you've been on the fence, let's follow in the footsteps of a James Hunt. Let's follow in the footsteps of a Theodore LaBarbera. Yeah. Let's, you know, Keith White, let him guide you to the $10 land. So, you know, there's a lot of options right here, and there's a lot of people that are setting a really good example. So hopefully you so choose to follow them. But enough of that, and let's get into the reason why people listen to us. Although I suppose maybe there are people out there that just listen to hear us thank them, and then they just peace out of the episode. But
that'd be wild.
That would be wild. Pretty unbelievable.
Pretty excited to have new people come in each week. So if you're out there, I know I want to be happy next week. So join the fight here.
Yes.
And join the Grunge Bible team.
Yeah, my week to week contentment is so fragile that you could keep me on the right path. With your support. But nevertheless, let's Ethan, let's get into this. The Foo Fighters' newest album, But Here We Are, is released. It's out everywhere. Came out June 2nd, 2023, and I don't even really know where to begin with this one. I think from the point that it was announced, I think everybody knew, in broad strokes, they knew the emotions that would be encapsulated on the record. They had an idea of the subject matter, maybe less of an idea of how it would sound, but they knew it was going to be something that hit you hard when you listen to it, and when you hear what it's all about. And you know, with a couple of listens in my under my belt so far, it was everything and more. It's that weird spot where you are anticipating fairly accurately, you know, what you're going to get, and you get what you think you're going to get, and it's still kind of leaves you without words. I'll say it. I think it's their best record since Wasting Light. I think it's a return to a lot of, you know, what makes the Foo Fighters, which is an interesting dichotomy because they're missing Taylor Hawkins, who was so integral to their sound. Dave
tracked all the drums.
Did he on this one?
Yeah. Dave played all the drums on this. This is an 11 studio album, and he played it all, obviously, and he's known to do that. In the beginning, he played all for the first album, and so I was going to say, I listened to it, and you're like, oh yeah, this is the Foo Fighters, which would make sense because it's a lot of Dave. Yeah. So, and Freeze, he's going to come and play and tour with them, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. Maybe we'll save that for another pod because he was, that was only a week or two ago, so he wasn't involved on the album. Like a broad stroke, when I first listened to it, and they've done this over the last few albums, is they hold on to, the parts that make them the Foo Fighters. They stray away, but they do it in a way that like allows them to play their new stuff, play their old stuff. It mixes in really well, and people don't get upset. They don't become one of those like heritage rock band, like we gotta go, play all the old stuff. Like their new stuff is always has that feel to it. And this album, like I said, I listened to it like once or twice, but I was kind of doing stuff. I was in the weight room and whatnot, and so I didn't get like complete like lyrical type of looking. But in overall, it has this momentum to it and this pace that I think is really intentional to kind of, it's like it's the moving forward, it's the getting through, and it's kind of like it's really upbeat. In a lot of these songs, and really, I mean, Dave's voice is strong, and I think that was all intentional. It's a crowd pleaser. I think this will be a lot of fun to listen to them play live.
Yeah, and I think with the Foo Fighters, I mean, the first Foo Fighters record came out in 1995. There's a lot of years between then and now, and you just kind of get the feeling with the Foo Fighters that as they have grown and developed, as the people in the band have grown up, they've married, they've had kids, as the fans are all getting older, you lose parents, you lose friends, You experience heartache, you experience hardship. The Foo Fighters are one of those bands that you feel like you're experiencing all of the ups and downs of life alongside the band, and that there's a certain shared experience there. And I think that's really, really on display here, obviously, in the aftermath of, the death of Taylor Hawkins, and how that completely rocked the world of the Foo Fighters as a band, but also, more importantly, just as people, losing one of their best friends. And, it's no surprise that subject matter is, omnipresent on this record. It's all over the place, in Dave Grohl, losing his mom recently as well. Those tenets and those thoughts are all there. And there's just kind of that feeling that, between the fans and the band, there's just this shared lineage that I think we've all walked together for at whatever point you got on the path with them. You're with them, and, you don't have to do anything alone, including, Taylor Hawkins, when we lost him, that wasn't a loss that had to be, dealt with alone. And it's just kind of that aspect of, when we share our sorrow and, we add it into this collective pot, we can heal collectively. And there's a certain familial aspect to it that I think is really, really here. And it's just kind of like a case study in emotional healing, and a case study in grappling with loss. And it's one of those instances, I think, where the record that the band needed to make is the exact record that the fans needed to hear, given everything that's gone on, in the last year and a half, and given the loss that's, that the band had to endure, and that the fans are missing Taylor too, and the fans are missing people in their lives. And that's the thing. I mean, ostensibly, Dave is writing about, his friend and his mom and people in his life. But what makes any sort of art great is the application that you can get. And, you can take that and you can apply it to your own life. And I posted something this morning, like, what are your thoughts on the record? And so many people were shouting out certain songs, off of this record. And they were saying, wow, like, as soon as I started listening to this one, it made me think of my grandpa, or like, wow, like this makes me think of like my friend that I went to high school with that we lost 5 years ago. And it's one of those things that I think this album is already having that type of impact. And the significance of it and the significance of that impact is only going to grow. One of those instances, I think, where something is special and from the jump that it's special, and you're experiencing that, and you're amongst people who we're all experiencing that together, and there's something healing about that, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, that first album, Cobain passed in April in 94,
yeah.
And Dave started recording in October of that year and released it in July of 95. So about a year and,
year and change. And same thing here. Yeah. We lost Taylor in March of 2022, and here in the beginning of June 2023, we've got the new record.
Yeah, so it's one of those weird circumstances where this band these members have dealt with loss. And I remember, when Taylor first passed away, I was like, the Foo Fighters are done. I was like, I don't know how you can lose your best friend and continue to play and continue to move on, and like, what will that look like? It has to look different. And then it's a reassurance that, you experience life or you experience loss in life, and you need to be able to move on and be strong. And I think that's a lot of what this album is about, and he's done this before too. Like I said, these members have experienced loss. Pat Smear was there when it happened. A lot of these guys have seen addictions firsthand, and everybody's lost a ton. And we'll get into some of the songs and maybe some of the lyrics, but I do think that, like you said, it's something for the band, something for the crowd, that the band is different now, but the band is still here, and the band is with us, and that's music. Music can be such an important part for healing and moving forward. So I'm not surprised, and I love that. I love that we have this album, because, like I said, I had a moment at the end of right before we recorded with one of the songs that I can't wait to talk about. I think it's one of the best songs right now for me. But there's some good stuff on here. There really is. There's some fun stuff. It's classic Grohl, if you're asking me.
It really is. And once again, like I was talking about earlier, like, to have a front seat to what went through Dave's brain and what went through Dave's heart dealing with all of this. It's got seemingly every single aspect of experiencing loss and healing through it. You have like the it's just like the record is a track. It's like you have the shock from the beginning of it in some of the first tracks, then the fact that healing's non-linear, and there's no getting over it, and someday I'll get over it, but there really is no getting over it, to just kind of like still feeling that person's presence, but knowing that they're not where they used to be, and moving forward to pass on the lessons that you learn from the person who you've lost to the next generation of people and your children and whatnot. And it's got reminiscing, it's got the cautionary tale to not waste your life, and it's just kind of got that peace at the end, that despite the fact that this person is gone, or these people are gone, we're able to take a breath and appreciate them, and still honor them, but be able to move forward. It's such a complete record, in terms of its subject matter. And I kind of think about, oddly enough, Ethan, I see a big parallel, and this might not hit for the grunge fans here, but I see a huge parallel between this new Foo Fighters album and the album that Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band put out in 2002 called The Rising. I believe it was the first album back with the band after they had broken up for a while, and the genesis of that record was in the weeks after 9/11. Bruce Springsteen was at a stoplight, and somebody rolled up to him, rolled down his window, and said, "We need you now," in the aftermath of 9/11. And the whole album is, once again, in a similar way, it's about 9/11 and healing through that, but it can be applied to so many things. And stylistically, it was such a return to what made the E Street Band so great. And I think this album, with Dave taking a lot of ownership over how the album sounds, it's kind of a return to that, and it's grappling with all of those feelings that exist in everybody's lives. It's weird because as fans, we process the death of one of our favorite musicians, and we can use that music to process that death in the same way that we can to process things that happen in our own lives that don't make sense. And it's a really, really complete effort. And I'm in awe of the fact that there's people out there who can suffer and endure tragedy, and their response is to create art and share it with others. How selfless of an act I think that can be, and how vulnerable of a process that has to be. And I'm just in awe of the people that continually do that. And Dave is obviously no stranger to doing that. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and I'm just really thankful that we have this record.
Yeah, it's a good parallel to Bruce, and I think, like I said, hearing this, I've seen this band a ton of times, and Dave writes songs to be played in theaters with a lot of people, and he's usually a really good job of getting emotion out. I feel like Bruce is very similar, and
totally.
he like that connection is really strong. So I think he had a lot of that in mind, of sharing this with people like in the moment together. So I'm excited. I definitely have to. I gotta get my tickets now. You know what I mean? Like I got. Now it's time to buy the tickets. I'm like, all right, I gotta be there. I gotta be there for the first tour of of this album moving forward, and pretty excited. The second track, Under You. So the first one's Rescued, a really, really great song. But I want to bring up Under You to start. It's got that 90s like summer rock vibe that I love. Very upbeat. It's got this classic drum sound with Chris Shiflett on the guitar coming in, or maybe it's Pat. I'm not sure who's playing what part, but he's coming with a beautiful ring, and oh man, it's a fun one. It's really good. I can see them open with that or do something, and it's a good one. I like that. I don't know if that was on your list, but I wanted to shout that song off to get moving down the line here.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think that the first three songs, I mean, they set the stage for the album so well. Starting with Rescued, but I had similar thoughts about Under You, and just kind of like the juxtaposition of like the way it sounds versus like what they're talking about. And I love this one. And I just spoke about it. How it just kind of, the lyrics go back and forth about how like, I've got to get through this, but like there is no getting over it. It kind of reminds me of like the Eddie Vedder quote, "Darkness comes in waves," from Life Wasted. And I think it's so true. But for me, the song that affected me the most is The Glass, I would say. That to me is the heart of the record for me. and just kind of like to use the metaphor of like a pane of glass in between you and somebody that you care about. You know, and there's a lyric in there, you know, I had a person I loved, and just like that, I was left to live without it. You know, there's something between us now. And it's just kind of, it speaks to how powerful somebody's presence can be, even when they're still not there. And, you know, the way the song sounds, I mean, like I said, I mean, this album is just perfect for who the band is. Like, the identity of the Foo Fighters and their DNA is all over this, you know. It's just kind of like I said, it's kind of a return. And that one, for me, is one that I stopped and thought, and it gave me pause when I listened to it, and it really hit me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does an awesome job with, I think, the verses and his voice cutting through and being really beautiful. And yeah, this was a good one. I had marked that one down as well as one that not the one I had my moment with, though. That's coming. Yeah. So, but it is a good one. Did you notice? Was it "Show Me How"? And a little bit of hearing voices and some other stuff. There's some, you're going to like this, but I was hearing a lot of Bloody Valentine in there.
I was going to say, dude, I figured you were going to... so shoegazy. Yeah.
I knew you were going to bring it up, and you were going to write. I thought about Dutch Mustard. I thought about Bloody Valentine. I was like, this is like crazy. It's cool. It's fun. Yeah, that stuff is always fun to throw in there. And there's kind of a lot of that on this album.
There really is. There's kind of stuff all over the place, and I have to say, like, "Show Me How," like the way the song sounds, it was the perfect place for Dave's daughter Violet Grohl to make her appearance on this record. Noted Grunge Bible follower Violet Grohl, by the way, but yeah, this one, it's just kind of like that really really like familial aspect, obviously because Dave's daughter is playing, but just, you know, like all of the lessons that are in here. And yeah, I love the way this one sounds. And it was when I started listening to it, like, because the first, all the songs that precede it, like, they're Foo Fighters songs, right? It's like, okay, like, this is a Foo Fighters record. But then we get to Show Me How, and I know it was a single, but listening to the album front to back, this one is out of place in the best possible way. And I love the fact that it's on here. I love the way this one sounds.
I know, I figured. Yeah, this one is cool. It's just, I mean, it really has that shoegaze to it, which is cool. It's it's very trippy. There's some trippy stuff in there too. We got to talk about the teacher as well.
Yes,
the teacher is quite it's over 10 minutes.
It's a long boy.
Yeah, and this one is it's a really really fun. I mean, this one is specifically about his mom, Virginia, was a teacher. So a lot of it is talking about Taylor and his mom, Virginia, specifically. And, he talks about, uses his mom's profession in it. And, I think I wrote down, each death that, and you kind of like, Dave kind of talks about, like, each death that happens, there's a realization that you're getting closer. You know what I mean? Each somebody close to you that passes away. One step closer
to the other side.
Yeah, there's an inevitability that you're going to feel closer to the finish line.
Yeah.
And that's one of the scariest thoughts that you can grapple with, in life and that understanding. And this song is such a fun ballad. It's really, it goes everywhere in and out. The music video is like pretty trippy, actually.
Yes.
It's like very in and out with the color and all around, and it's got a little bit of everything. It's got a little bit of everything. It drops down halfway through, it picks back up.
It's a big song, and once again, like, I love
this is for a live show. Like, I mean, there's no way they're not playing it. I can
imagine how this one would sound, in the way that you would get into it. But I just, once again, like, speaking to this song about how, it says, try and make good with the air that's left, counting every minute, living breath by breath. I love the way the album is structured. Like side one of this album is all just kind of like, looking to the past and looking the absence of the people that were there, and how it's making you feel, and how you're struggling to accept it, comprehend it, and deal with that fact. But then, it pivots here towards, once we get towards the end, and the teacher is, I think, the best example of that. How like there's just this jarring loss of somebody. It's got the lyric, you showed me how to breathe, never showed me how to say goodbye. And like, there's never a good time for somebody important to you to leave. And it's like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to be able to move forward? And there's a certain like reclamation of the spirit of those people who left in a lot of these songs towards the end. But yeah, this one's a really, really big song, and I'm excited. It's so big of a song that I need to spend more time with it, and it's one of those that as I listen to it more, this is why we're doing it, the day that the full album was released. I'm sure, that's the most exciting thing. You notice different things, and different lyrics hit you at different times relative to what you're going through. And there's so much on this record, and even in this song specifically, that I think is going to, it's going to, we're going to be able to put a lot of miles on a lot of these songs, and The Teacher is certainly one of them. Is The Teacher the one that you were talking about earlier that affected you?
It's not.
Is it Rest?
It is Rest.
Me too.
Rest.
Yeah. Rest
is the absolute perfect way to finish this album. It brought me to tears. It was hard. Like, I was listening to it, and then all of a sudden, like, I had to actually stop and listen. And it's just hearing Dave open up, go to the depths, talk about, you can rest now, you will be safe. I think it's at the beginning, he says, laying in your favorite clothes chosen just for you. I feel like you're, looking in, it could be like looking in a coffin. There's so much, and it builds up, and then has this such a huge like guitar and just drowning sound, and that's how it feels sometimes. And I can just picture myself listening to this. Like I said, I was listening in the weight room, I was listening here, and it didn't click with me. But all of a sudden, I was in my room by myself, and I was tired. It's been a long day, and I'm just thinking about it as like, rest. But like, when you're saying goodbye to somebody, and you will be safe now. I think he says like, I'll follow you at some point, or it's just it was so. I can tell I'm gonna have some moments with this one, and I'm excited to. I'm really excited to listen to this one, like as I'm laying in bed. I mean, it's emotional. This I couldn't, like I said, I keep saying I couldn't imagine this being the final song to the tour. It's gonna be unreal. It's gonna be absolutely unreal.
It's funny, as I was making my notes, I was in real time listening to the record for the first time and writing my notes, and I had gotten to The Glass, earlier on the album, and I wrote, this is the heart of the album, in my opinion. And then when I got to Rest, I said, if the glass is the heart, then this is the blood that's running through it. And it's exactly like what you said. It's like when, after you grapple with maybe what somebody's legacy is, and in a song like Show Me How or The Teacher, like the lessons that you learn from that person and the understanding that they're not there and you have to kind of take a lot of the load now, then by ending with a song like Rest, and it's like at the end of the day, like all I want for you and for your memory is like for you to have peace and for you to just take it easy. In a not so subtle nod to his mom here in the outro, waking up, had another dream of us in the warm Virginia sun, there I will meet you. And that's like
exactly that line.
And I think that song, that on its own, if you weren't a Foo Fighters fan, on its own, this song is so emotionally driving. But in the context of Dave and the path that he's walked, and the fact that these guys are getting older, obviously, and they've suffered loss, and I think it paints it in such a more emotional light. And this is the perfect way to end this album. And it's one of those that I really like you said, you're listening to this album and like it's heavy, and you pick out lyrics here and there, like holy shit. But then when this one came on, when you hear it for the first time, because like you kind of thought something like this was coming at some point on the album, and then when it's finally here, especially to close, and for it to be the way that it is, like it is on Rest, I mean, like same thing, like it makes you stop. It's like I really need to listen to this, and like you well up a little bit, because I mean this is as real as it gets, I think, in terms of conveying these feelings. This is as real as it gets.
It is, and it has the structure that is just beautiful. It starts with just Dave playing, and then the whole band comes in, and the way that like Chris has the guitar going, the do 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 do, it's just like beautiful, moving up and down the neck while Dave's singing, and this droning sound, and like you said it's the blood. It really feels like, it feels like the breath, and that's like the last breath. It's the end of the album, end of the song, and if he would have just released this song, you know what I mean, and not a whole album, it would be all we needed. And I'm thankful that it's at the end of it. I'm thankful that it's a good closure. It seems like this one's gonna be one of my go-to songs for sad boy hours.
Yeah, this is one that's gonna stick around for sure. And I think this is one that, as you're a fan of music and you develop affinities for songs, and then you go through things that songs describe, and you already know the songs, and tragedy inevitably will happen. And if you're like me, you something happens, and you think of songs, and you go and listen to them. And this one is certainly going to be one that is going to be towards the top of my mind, when certain times come. But I'm just, once again, like thematically, I'm in a good bit of awe with this album, and just the way that it kind of covers all of those emotions that you feel when something as unexpected and tragic happens, and even just something as sad. We've had these conversations, many times, and we're only in our mid to late 20s, but we're at the point now where we've had people who are our age who we know who have passed away, and parents are getting sick, and maybe parents are passing away, and I think the older you get, life gets a little bit more real, and the issues and the tragic events are a little heavier, and they're a little darker, and they're a little harder to deal with, and this album, I think, encapsulates that, that there is no it doesn't matter how much practice you have with something like this, and hopefully, if it were up to me, none of us would have any practice with this, because bad things wouldn't happen, and you wouldn't have to lose people important to you. But this is such an unbelievable showcase, I think, of what that feels like. But there's something about going through all of those emotions that is healing, and you have to feel all of those ups and downs, and the thought that you're never going to get over it, and you don't know what you're going to do without this person because they taught you everything, and then being able to see the sunrise the next day and know that, like, okay, like I can't waste life. I have to live each breath, and I have to just do all of those things that they would want me to do. This is I think I've run out of adjectives tonight to discuss this one, but but that's the point. This album is so new to us. It just came out, the day that we're recording this. But that's the point. That's the point of this one. I'm very interested to see what this album's legacy will be long term.
Well, I was gonna say, I wrote down, like, what do you think that say this album does to the legacy of the band, or how would this album? Do you think it'll wear on them? Do you think, like, this is the first album after? Do you think that we're gonna have more albums after this? Do you think the tour, there's so many questions. Will the tour wear on them? Is Josh Freese going to fit in?
I think he will, or else they wouldn't have picked him. That's the easiest one for me to answer. I just don't see any universe where, the Foo Fighters made an album and they're touring after suffering this catastrophic and unspeakably tragic loss. It's one of those things, and I remember we had these conversations after Taylor Hawkins passed away. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen, but, like, I can't imagine a world where Dave Grohl's not out there playing. He's, even more than he's a musician, he's a live performer. In the same parallel that we spoke about earlier with Springsteen. I mean, these guys are live performers, and I think what this album, I think, will live in the forefront of their legacy. Because of how integral Taylor was to their legacy, and I think this one will go down as the most poignant tribute, I think, that they could have proffered for their friend, and I think fans are going to remember it as such, and I think they're already starting to realize it. It is that, and they're appreciating it for that, and I think there's a lot of people that are really, really looking forward to letting these songs sink in, because I think they will take a little bit of time to sink in, and the gravity of it, it's a weird thing. Like I said, like we were expecting it, but the gravity is still going to take some time to set in, I think.
I think that Dave was very intentional. Well, obviously, it's hard to pick a drummer, right? Not easy. You got to do all that. Right. But he wanted to build this album and play the drums. He wanted to bookend Taylor's time with them. This is his first drum credit since I think I saw 2005, so he hasn't played on any of the records, right? Yeah. So having him play the drum parts and to be able to build that in there and it's him, I think is really special. It allows, this is just me, I'm talking for him, but I think it allows him to be able to move on and like have that, this is the one album that he did for Taylor, and now they can go on and make another album with another drummer, and they can allow other spices to come in and certain aspects, and I think that there are going to be more albums, of course. I think he's gonna, but this tour will be special, and this tour will be fun. So we got a good summer on our hands. So I gotta go to a show. They're coming here. They're coming here in the next month, to be honest. But I've been so busy and trying to figure out a whole bunch of other crap that it's hard.
Life's been moving real fast.
Yeah, and like I said, I just ran those Deadheads in L.A. or whatever, or Denver or whatever, and they were like, dude, they're better now than they've ever been. And I'm like, great, it's the last tour, and you're saying that. They're like, John Mayer's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's
everybody's like, better than they've ever been, Chris.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing, and it can be really overwhelming, but it's like what Dave said in The Teacher, you got to try and make good with the air that's left, and it is that weird thing, like, you never know how much air is left. I remember, before, this is way back when I was in high school when I played football, but I went to a Catholic school, so like the chaplain would always like talk to us, and like, we would go to mass before games, and like before the state championship game, like the mass, like the gospel was something, and he made a really good homily. He's like, like you're in a football game, like you always know how much time's left, but like with your life, you never know what quarter of life you're in. You don't know if it's the 2-minute warning or not. And I have the feeling, by the way, you're smiling right now. I think I've already shared this story on the podcast a long time ago, but
I'm not sure if it's
now. I know I've shared it with you.
Yeah. I love the I mean, I love it.
I mean, it's true. I mean,
it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. It's like there's like a lyric in Light Years. I think it's like no time to be void or save up on life. You got to spend it all. Eddie Vedder had said back in the day, and it's true. I mean, you gotta make good, for your own self and for the people who can't, and for the people you care about. You got to make good. So, yeah, gotta make good.
That's awesome. I look forward to having this album playing and listening to it more, buying tickets, going to see them, talking with other people about the album, and maybe explaining to somebody that what it is and why it could be seen in a different light.
Important. Yeah.
And I haven't read too many reviews on it, so I'm interested to see how the people are responding. And
I haven't read any like pitchforks or Rolling Stones or NMEs about this.
Vulture.
I've just gone to the people. I just wanted to know what the people had to say about this album. With it being so new, like it came out like midnight Eastern time, and I think I posted at like 9 a.m. Eastern, and I was like, what do you think about the album? And the reviews were rolling in, and people were really just kind of talking about a lot of these themes that we were discussing. So
yeah, this is a fun one, necessary. I look forward to it. I want to shout out. I want to pull up my shirt though for a second.
So let's do it.
I got this beautiful, massive shirt. I don't even know if it's an extra
from Brendan
large.
Acton.
But Brendan Acton. It's a Stop Making Sense, and it says at the bottom, "I got a big shirt, and nothing is better than this, is it?" So shout out Brendan. He's a great guy. He's funny. He makes some really funny shirts, and I want to make sure Chris has it as well. But
I do have it as well.
Opted up. He's got it in his hand. There we go.
Stop Making Sense. There it is.
Absolutely.
A little bit of fun Grunge Bible podcast trivia. That lovely Grunge Bible podcast with Chris Saloni and Ethan Shalloway graphic. Brendan Acton made that for us. He took our logo and he put it together, and so he's you don't know it, but you've been taking in his work for some time. If you're a regular around,
you've seen his stuff.
Yeah,
and like you said, Chris, these shirts only come in large, XL, or double X.
They're only meant to be big. So stop making sense.
Which is awesome. So it's fun. We should have him on. Absolutely.
Yeah, we totally should.
At least shoot the shit, do something, Yeah,
exactly. I'll talk about. Well, he follows. He's a big Grateful Dead adjacent artist, and he's following Dead and Company on their tour this year for like 2 months. He's going out selling his merch. Yeah,
he did some stuff with them. Yeah,
like either for them or like adjacent.
Or John.
I'm not very well read on the the lineages out there, but he's a really, really great guy, East Coast guy. So that's that's a really, really big green flag in our book. So we're pumped about that. So I would like to shout out our producer Drew McFadden for all of his work. Drew is the man.
He's doing good.
He's always laying it on the line for us, and he does a really, really great job. And I'm proud to call him my friend.
Buzzer beater after buzzer beater when it comes to getting the pod.
Hey, he knocks him down, dude. Like
he's clutch.
He's clutch.
He's clutch.
Like we saw it. I mean, the Celtics just got knocked out of the play. I mean, not everybody has the clutch gene. I mean, Game 7, the lights are bright. Drew McFadden is up for the challenge. You ISO him when the shot clock's turned off at the end of the game, and he'll make you pay.
Oh yeah. And but I do have sad news. If you did listen to the last pod, Drew gifted me a mic in California.
Yes,
although
unfortunately
I'm still using the snowball, guys.
Yeah, I'm always using the snowball.
Yeah, I'm in solidarity with Chris. No, I'm just kidding.
That's why you're doing it.
I need to have GarageBand on my Mac. Is too old and is not working. So I need to get
in the parlance of our time, Ethan, your MacBook is flat out fucked.
Yeah, if we're talking dog years, this thing died a long time.
This thing's been dead and gone for a long time. But
so
hey, that's why you support the show.
Yeah,
that's why you give us your money.
Right. So we're still buying Chris a mic, but now I need to buy me a MacBook. And what I gotta say it, I gotta throw it in there. But Quinn Shalloway, my brother, is a great real estate agent, and he can sell your house. And listen, please, I'm serious. If you're out there listening and you do want to sell or buy a house, we got you covered with my brother, and that's going to help us fund this damn enterprise. So
the ultimate real estate headhunter.
The ultimate. He really is a smart guy. So reach out to us. Reach out to him.
The thing is, like, whether you help us or not, we're probably going to do this podcast, but if you don't help us...
We're going to keep saying it. Whether you help us or not, we still have to say this stuff, guys.
Yeah. And whether you help us or not, like, we're still going to do the podcast probably. Like, we'll end it on our terms, but, like, if you don't help us, it's going to be so painful.
Yeah,
so
guys.
Please make it less painful for us. Like, it's funny, like, I was at the gym today, and one of my friends, like, they were like, "Oh, what are you doing after the gym? Like, it's Friday. Like, you doing anything fun?" I was like, "I'm going home and recording a podcast." And they're like, "Oh shit! Like, yeah, you had to do that last week and the week before." I'm like, "Yeah, man. Like, that's the way to do it."
I do it every week, guys.
I'm like, I do it every fucking week. And I was like, you know what? Like, we have done this. We have not missed for 115 weeks. That's a long damn time. It's been painful at some points, but thanks to your support, it's been less painful, and it can be even less painful. Yeah. If more of you support us. So you're like the what are those, like, the marionette dolls, like, you're controlling? Yeah, like it's just one big marionette doll, and you can control Ethan and I.
Make it stop, guys. Make it easy on us.
Stop making sense.
Stop making sense. What we really need is we need somebody out there to just, I don't know, pick us up, or we need an angel investor.
It's like a big donor. Yeah,
we need a big donor.
Yeah, big money. We need a super PAC or something.
Me and Chris, we honestly, like I said last time, I think we've done like 5 episodes in the same place, and I think we need to get a studio together and move in or something like that.
Yeah, I'll get mobile, man. I'll go wherever it takes. Cause
I don't know if we can move to LA. I don't know if we can move to LA.
I don't have the money to move to LA. I don't have enough commas.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, let's get our last segment in. We got song of the week. Mine's coming off this album. It's got to.
All right. Yeah, I'll let you go first.
I'm gonna have to put "Rest" on this playlist. It's a beautiful song. It has its spot right now, and I think that it's worth a listen out there. I'm not sure when you guys are listening to this podcast, if it's in the morning, noon, or night, but I recommend. I could imagine listening to this in the car driving home from something. So
if you're listening in the morning, maybe save it for your lunch break so you're not crying when you walk into work. Honestly,
unless you like that type of vibe,
unless you like that kind of thing, yeah. I mean, exactly. I mean, we can't tell you how to live. We can't even show you how to live.
I know, dude. Or in this case, I would say one of the songs is "Show Me How." So
right, we can't show you how.
We can't show you how. We can't show you how to live.
Exactly.
Chris,
all right,
what's your
that
song?
works out great. So we have Rest, and my song of the week will be "The Glass." One of the other song, which along with Rest hit me the hardest. So those two, I think, are perfect additions to our song of the week playlist here. So Ethan, thanks for taking the time to come on the show tonight.
Chris, thanks for having me, man.
We'll have to have you back on for episode 116. Although Ethan, I do need to say this. Like I have made. I'm in the number one spot for most appearances on the Grunge Bible podcast with 115. Mm-hmm. You're in second place with 113. So
right. I know you're allowed. You can take your vacation whenever you want, Chris. I'm ready to go.
I might
solo.
be doing it.
Yeah, dude.
I might be doing it.
I want to mix it up. You know, I kind of want to, like I said, man. I want to do one where you monologue for half of it, and I monologue for the second half.
Yeah. So let's because like the OGs and the purists are probably still with us right now. Like if you think that's something you want to listen to, let us know, because I think that would be really cool. Like even it would be. Like maybe we talk about the same topic, you know.
That's what
I do
I'm saying.
20 minutes on, and you do 20 minutes on, and we see what we have to say.
Yeah,
and we compare
something
and see
like
how big the circle of the Venn diagram is in the middle. That would be cool.
I want to know who has listened to every episode.
Yeah,
I think there's a good bit.
Yeah,
I think people backtrack, like especially if it's attainable with certain podcasts. I've done it. I went back a little bit.
I've totally done that, and there's people. We'll get messages. It's like, hey, like I'm working my way through the podcasts. Like I'm on like 81 right now, and like I just really related to this, or thanks for showing me this song. So I think that happens.
Yeah.
So we need to have some sort of club. This is the last story that I'll tell. But there used to be a baseball podcast called Up and In with Kevin Goldstein and Jason Parks, and they ran for like 400 episodes or something until both of them got jobs working for professional baseball organizations. But their first episode, because they weren't sure if they were going to do it long term, because like they thought it would suck and no one would listen to it, instead of being episode 1, it was episode 0.9. So there was like a group of Up and In listeners who were called 0.9ers who would listen to everything. So we need to have some sort of moniker. That's
good. That's incredible foresight or whatever. That is really awesome. What's our first episode called? The intro?
We had the trailer, and then I think it was called In the Beginning.
Trailer. Oh. But look it up.
We had trailer, and then In the Beginning, and then the songs that made us fans, if I remember correctly. I mean, we recorded those like 2.5 years ago now, Ethan. Yeah. That's kind of fucked.
It is, dude.
Well, what are you gonna do?
I mean, I was definitely 26, maybe even 25. If it was really
24.
Yeah. Right. If my math is correct.
I wasn't in this apartment.
Yeah. I was probably not here either.
Yeah. So.
Not in this room. All right.
I think that does it for another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. Thank you all for listening to episode 115. We hope to see you right back here next week for episode 116. Thank you, as always. Take care, rock and roll, be well, dream well, sleep well, be good, do good, whatever you want to do.
We'll see you the same time next week, knuckleheads. Rock and roll.
Good night, Canada.